Hey guys, it's Shah here, the Tech Borg, and it's been a long time since I've made a video. I've been pretty busy doing homework and revising for exams, for A-levels, mock exams, etc. So I've been busy, so sorry for the late video guys, but someone has given me a good idea, and that person has asked me to make like a selection program. So in the last video I made this program, as you can see, that I presented in front of you, that actually calculates the force required, the force between two gravitationally attracted objects. This is Newton's gravitation law, by the way, just for those of you that don't know. It's pretty cool. Have a check it out. It's pretty cool. And it comes in A-level physics as well, just so you know. But anyway, that's not the point of today's video. The point of today's video is so we can make a selection program. So let's just do that now. So what we need to do, well, for the selection, first we have to give the user a selection, right? So let's give them a selection then. So instead of printing calculating the force, let's say input which would you like to find. Now let's say the first one is force. So number 1 represents force, okay? Then we have number 2, which is mass 1, and then we have number 3, which is mass 2. Well, technically you can classify both the masses under one mass, so we can just call it mass, because again, when you rearrange, it will be the same thing if you think about it that way. So yeah, but even then, let's just call it mass 2. But actually, let's just leave it as mass. Honestly, mass. Let's put in brackets one of them, so they understand that we understand what the mass they're talking about is. And then now, the last one, well, g is a constant, and the last one has to be radius, so let's just say radius. Okay, now we have to make that into a variable. I'm just going to call it select a cell, which is meant to represent selection, and then if I put an int in front of that, just to make sure that they give only integer inputs. Now let's do if cell equals to 1, okay, then we'd like to do force, which is the program we have here right now. So if I select all this and just press tab, it's gonna indent it for me, so I don't have to bother doing it. As you can see, our code is already ready for the first selection, which is the force. Now we have to make a code for the second selection, which is mass. So if cell equals 2, m1 equals float. So what we can do, just to make our lives easier, is actually just copy and paste what we already have. So copy this, paste this here. We don't need to m2 because we're finding m2. So if we select radius now and put radius here instead, leave g as it is and put this here. Now what we need to do is we need to actually rearrange the formula we have. So we know that force equals gmm. This is another m, so m1 m2 divided by r squared, right? So we need to find the mass. So a mass, if you rearrange it, would be force divided by g divided by m2 times by r squared. So therefore, so if I do it like that, then that becomes, so m1 equals f times r squared in brackets like this. And if I put this in further brackets, just so you understand, so the double asterisk means to the power of, and then you put your number, and then over here we have m2, right? Because remember, we've already been given one of the masses, so yeah. So again, we want to find m1, so we just rearrange, so we get f over g, and then obviously f times the bottom one by g as well, and then we put this here like this, right? Straightforward. So this is our rearrangement of the force formula that we had originally, which was g times m1 times m2 over r squared, which now becomes f times r squared divided by m2 times g. So now we need the user to input the value of the force as well. So float, and then input, enter. Actually no, let's just leave it as force. Let's just force in newtons. Boom. Okay. Right, so we've got everything now. Now we just need to actually do the calculation. So we can just say answer equals, and now we just need to literally just copy this. So f times bracket again because it's r squared. So r is lowercase, so r squared. Divide all this by mass 2, which is let's m1, because remember we've called the variable here m1, times by g. times big G. Yeah, big G. There you go. And now we can just print out the answer. So print, and then here, over here we find the mass. So the mass is, and then you want to put your answer there. Answer, and then you could make it all cool by putting on kilogram, and then just for the units. You don't have to, but you can if you want. I'm not gonna bother doing it. I'm sure like they will understand the idea of standard units. If not, okay, let me just put kilograms in brackets here. Actually, I think it's better. The mass in kg is. Let's make it bold so they understand, isn't it? Sometimes people get confused over these things. The force in newtons is right. Okay. Now we do if selection equals to 3. Let's use elif over here. Elif, so we can use else right at the end for any other void error inputs. So elif, and then over here again, in this one we need to find the radius, so we need everything except for the radius. So m1 we need, right? Radius we don't need. G we definitely need G, and then we need m2. So if I just copy and paste m2 into it over here, and we also need to find we need to ask the force from the user. So now so I'm going to make a comment here that we know that F equals GMM. So to convert that, we know that R squared has to equal GM1M2 divided by F. Yeah. So that goes on to becoming R equals to square root of GMM M1 M2 over F. So GM1 M2 over F all to the power of a half, which we say 0.5. Okay, now let's do that. Okay, so there we go. We made the comment. Now we know how to write the code as well now. So answer equals, now you want to find the radius, so we have to use what we've written here already. So let's just do that really quickly. So not GM, so it's M1. Okay, let's put all this in brackets first of all. So that's G times M1 times M2 times M2, all this in brackets again. Oops, there we go, divided by the force, and then we need to power everything to 0.5, which is a half, which is again square root. So this is our program ready. Again, we'll just have an else here just for any of the void errors. Print error, I don't know, and then you can have an exit if you want as well, like that. So if I save this and run this now, okay, invalid syntax, okay, I forgot a comma there, sorry. Let's run this now, hopefully it should work. Yep. So let's do force, so let's do 555. I've already checked on the calculator, this is correct, 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11. Now let's rerun this, do mass. So mass is 555. So the mass is this, which is pretty big. So let me just quickly type it on a calculator. Yep, and I've checked this also on my calculator, and it's also correct. So now let's do the final one, which is the one I was most unsure about because we're powering it to 0.5. I don't know if Python accepts that, so let's give it a check. It'll give me an error if it doesn't accept it, and as you can see, it hasn't outputted anything, which means there has been some sort of issue. So let's try one quick time. 4, 3, 2. Okay, so clearly there's been an error, and so and again that's why I was unsure. So this doesn't work. So let's just do this first, okay? And then now we're going to import a math module, which is a library built into Python, so import math. And then what we're going to do here is we're just going to do print. Oh, it's because we haven't printed anything. Oh, sorry. So the math, so maybe our initial one might work. Let's check it out actually. 0.5, and then yeah, so it should work ideally. If I just put the other bracket here again. What was finding again? The force, no, the radius is, and then we put answer there, comma there, in meters. I think this is how you spell meters, I hope. So that's that. Let's save this and run this now. 3,555. The radius in meters is this. Let me check on the calculator real quick. And yes, this is correct, guys. I've also checked on my calculator. Please make sure that my rearranging is correct, so you guys can have a quick check if you want as well. But this was the video that someone wanted to watch, so I've done the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like, comment, subscribe.